Mom texted, "No kids at Christmas this year," then sobbed when every grandchild spent the day at my place. I was standing at the kitchen counter when her message popped up, phone buzzing against the chopping board, the faint smell of garlic and onions hanging in the air. The kids were in the living room arguing over a single red crayon even though there were 11 others on the floor, and my husband, Mark, had Christmas carols playing too loud on the Bluetooth speaker. I wiped my hands on a tea towel, glanced down, and saw the preview on the screen. No kids at Christmas this year. For a second, I thought I was misreading it. Then I tapped it open, and there it was in the family group chat like it was a weather update. No kids at Christmas this year. Adults only. We need a proper Christmas for once. I stared at the words until they blurred a little, my fingers going weirdly cold. In the end, on Christmas Day, my house was a chaos of wrapping paper, half-built Lego sets, and children with sticky cheeks and tinsel in their hair. My mother sat in her quiet, immaculate living room with a table set for 6 and only my dad opposite her. When she finally called me, just after the Queen's speech replay they always watch, her voice was thick with tears as she asked, "How could you do this to me?" And, over the noise of my niece laughing in the background, I said, "You told us no kids. Mom, they're kids. They're my choice." It was mid-November when that text came through. Stupid early to be fighting about Christmas, but that's how my family operates. We weaponize holidays months in advance. I'm 35F, oldest of 3. My brother Dan, 32M, has 2 kids. My sister Lily, 29F, has 1, and I've got 2. So my parents have 5 grandkids total, all under 10. We all live in the same city, about 20 to 30 minutes apart, which means my parents still think of us as nearby, in the way people do when they never really updated the mental map from everyone in one house. Christmas at my parents' place has been a whole production my entire life. Matching crockery, cloth napkins, centerpiece that you're not allowed to move, tree that looks like it was styled by a magazine, and an unspoken rule that everyone is on their best behavior because this is the one day your father gets to relax. The first year there were grandkids, it was cute, sleep-deprived, loud, but cute. By the third year, with more kids, more noise, more sugar, the cracks were showing. Last year was the worst. My son, Noah, who's 7 now, knocked over a glass of red wine trying to get past the table to the bathroom. It went all over Mom's pristine white tablecloth. She went still in that scary way she has, then hissed, "Unbelievable," under her breath and said loudly, "This is why we can't have anything nice when there are children here." Noah's face crumpled. I grabbed some paper towels and said, "It's fine, it'll come out." But she snatched the towels from my hands hard enough to scrape my skin. Later, when my niece had a meltdown because she was overstimulated and tired, my dad barked, "Stop that right now or you'll ruin Christmas for everyone." And my sister ended up sitting with her crying in the laundry, away from the good furniture. On the drive home that night, Mark said, "We need to rethink next year." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And then promptly shoved the thought somewhere deep, because dealing with my parents' expectations feels like trying to move a brick wall with a spoon. So when the text came through, "No kids at Christmas this year. Adults only. We need a proper Christmas for once." It was like they'd preemptively kicked the spoon out of my hand. I just stared at my phone for a minute. Then the messages started. "Dan, wait, what? Lily?" "Me? What do you mean, no kids?" Mom replied almost immediately. Exactly what I said. No kids this year. Just us adults. We haven't had a peaceful Christmas in years. You're all exhausted too. This will be a nice break. Grown-up food, proper conversation. You can all use it." I could almost hear her voice in those words. Bright, reasonable, like she was offering a spa day instead of banning her grandchildren. Dan's typing dots appeared, then disappeared. Lily stayed silent. I could feel my chest tightening, that familiar mix of anger and dread. Mark looked over from the sink. "Everything okay?" he asked. I held my phone up. "My mom just uninvited our children from Christmas." He frowned, drying his hands. "Like at their house?" "Yeah." He walked over. read the messages, and let out a low whistle. "Wow," he said. "She really texted that like she's doing you a favor." Before I could reply, another message. Obviously we still want to see the kids around Christmas. We can do a special kids day on the 27th or something. But Christmas Day is adults only this year. Decide amongst yourselves how you're going to do it. Decide amongst yourselves. As if what we were deciding was whose kids got abandoned where. My immediate instinct was to twist myself into a pretzel like I've always done. Maybe we can juggle this. Maybe the kids do the morning here, then I go over for lunch alone, Mark stays with them? Maybe we rotate adults? Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe this is normal somewhere? Then my son yelled from the living room, "Mom, Noah stole my red crayon." And my daughter laughed that high, delighted laugh she does when she knows she's being naughty. And I looked at their little bodies sprawled on the rug in their mismatched socks, and something in me went very still. I thought about dropping them off at a stranger's house or leaving Mark alone with them on Christmas Day while I dressed up and went to sit at my mother's perfect table making polite conversation about my uncle's new car. I thought about my kids waking up and asking, "Are we going to Nana and Pops?" And me saying, "No, they don't want kids there," and how that sentence would land in their little hearts even if I tried to make it sound casual. I typed and erased 3 different responses. Then Dan finally chimed in. "Dan, so like, you want us to come without our own kids? On Christmas Day? Mom, yes, you all need a break. You're always saying how tired you are. This is one day. They won't remember." I felt my jaw clench. Me. They will remember when they're older and hear the story about how their grandparents banned them from Christmas. I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. My heart thudded hard enough I could feel it in my throat. A minute passed. No response from Mom. Instead, a private text from Lily popped up. "Lily, oh my God. Lily, I can't with this today. Lily, what are you going to do?" I stared at that last question for a long second because it said what we all knew. Whatever I did, they'd probably follow. That's been the pattern since we were kids. I'm the one who pushes back, gets labeled difficult. They quietly agree with me in private, but rarely out loud. Mark squeezed my shoulder. "You don't have to decide right now," he said. Except I kind of did. The silence in the group chat was already calcifying into expectation. I typed slowly. "Me to group, if the kids aren't welcome, we're not coming. I'm not spending Christmas Day without them." I hit send and put the phone face down on the counter. My hands were shaking. Mark let out a breath I didn't know he was holding. "I'm proud of you," he said. "Don't say that yet," I muttered. "Wait till the nuclear fallout." It didn't take long. Oh, for God's sake. No one said they're not welcome. We just want one peaceful day. You can see them in the morning, then come for lunch. They'll be fine. This is what I get for trying to do something nice. There it was, that twist. "I'm hurting you, but only because I love you. If you're upset, that's your fault for not appreciating my effort." Dan chimed in again, tentatively. "Dan, we could maybe sort something out? Like kids in the morning, adults at lunch?" I could feel myself wanting to cave immediately. "See? Dan's being reasonable. Don't be the problem. Don't rock the boat." I closed my eyes and heard my therapist's voice from way back in August. "Every time you choose comfort for your parents over safety for your kids, you're teaching your kids the same lesson you learned. That other people's feelings matter more than their own." I opened my eyes. The boat was already rocked. Might as well steer it. Me. I'm not leaving my kids on Christmas Day. That's a hard no for me. If you guys want to go, that's your call. Another long pause. Dan, in the siblings chat. "Dan, I hate this." Lily. Same. Dan. "If I go without the kids, Sarah will kill me," his wife. Lily. "TBH, I don't want to choose between my son and a roast." Eventually, in the main chat, Lily spoke up. "Lily, I'm with my name. If Jay is not invited, I'm not coming." My heart did a weird little flip. She almost never takes a stand. Dan followed a few minutes later. Dan, "Yeah, I can't do no kids on Christmas. We'll do something before or after instead." Silence from Mom. For hours. I went about the evening in a bit of a daze. We ate spaghetti, bathed the kids, stepped on 2 separate Lego pieces. Mark rolled his shoulders and said, "So I'm guessing we're hosting Christmas this year?" And I laughed. This shaky, surprised laugh that turned into a bit of a sob. "Apparently," I said, "our place doesn't even have a proper dining table." "We have a table," he said. "It's covered in glitter glue, but it's a table." The next morning, Mom called. I almost didn't pick up, but avoidance has never actually made anything better with her, just postponed the inevitable. I answered and braced myself. She didn't yell. That almost made it worse. She sounded wounded, sweet even. "I don't understand why you're all attacking me," she said, skipping hello entirely. "I just wanted to do something nice. We never get adult time with you anymore. It's all nappies and cartoons." "You can ask for adult time," I said carefully. "You can't demand it on Christmas Day and act surprised when we say no." "You're twisting my words," she shot back. "As usual." "No, Mum. You said, 'No kids at Christmas this year.' That's not twisted. That's what you said." "I didn't mean it like that," she said. "You know how I am with texting." "How else is it meant?" I asked. She huffed. "I thought you'd be happy to have a break. You're always saying you're tired. You make me out to be some kind of monster who hates her grandkids." "I didn't say you hate them," I said. "I said banning them from Christmas makes them feel unwelcome." "They're small children," she snapped. "They won't even remember." I thought of Noah's face when my dad shouted about the wine. I thought of my niece in the laundry hiccup crying. "They remember more than you think," I said. "Fine," she said sharply. "Do what you want. We'll just have a quiet Christmas, your father and I. It'll be nice not to have screaming for once." The guilt landed right on cue. "You don't have to be alone," I said. "You can come here. Or we can do Christmas Eve at yours with the kids." "No, no," she said, martyr tone fully engaged. "You've made your choice." By the time we hung up, I felt wrung out. I texted the siblings chat. "Me, update. She's playing the we'll be all alone card. Dan." "Of course she is." "Lily, I hate this." In the end, we made a plan. Christmas Eve lunch at my parents' house with the kids, low-key. Christmas Day at mine. Everyone invited. Kids loud and sticky and present. If my parents wanted to join, they could. They didn't answer when I texted that plan, but they read it. I saw the read receipts. Christmas Eve came. At my parents' place, the tree was, as always, perfect. The kids were excited. My mom was stiff but civil. My dad made a dig about too many toys these days. But we got through it without major explosions. As we were leaving, Mom hugged each child in turn like she was memorizing them before a long trip. "See you tomorrow if you change your mind," she said to me at the door. "We'll be here," I said. "You know where we live." We got home, assembled toys, wrapped last-minute presents, and turned our small, messy house into something vaguely festive. We strung cheap fairy lights around the doorway. Our tree leaned to one side because the stand is slightly broken. The kids stuck all the lower ornaments on one patch, leaving the top bare. I kind of loved it. Christmas morning, Noah and my daughter, Ella, burst into our room at 5:45 a.m., faces flushed, hair wild. They opened stockings on our bed, squealing over chocolate coins. Later, Dan and his wife arrived with their kids, arms full of presents and plastic containers of food. Lily showed up with a tray of overcooked pigs in blankets and a bottle of Prosecco. Our living room turned into a disaster zone in record time. There was torn wrapping paper everywhere, little plastic ties that hold toys into boxes, batteries rolling under the couch. The dining table, our glitter glue one, was extended with a fold-out card table. We had mismatched chairs, including an office chair and a camping stool. The roast potatoes were a bit burnt, the gravy was lumpy, and someone knocked cranberry sauce onto the floor. It was noisy, joyfully, ridiculously noisy. Kids shrieking with laughter, an argument over whose turn it was on the Nintendo, my brother and Mark shouting over each other about football. Lily putting on Mariah Carey too loudly. Every now and then, someone's kid cried, someone spilled something, and we just dealt with it. No one shouted. No one told a child they were ruining anything. We wiped faces and surfaces and kept going. At around 1 p.m., my phone buzzed. Mum on the screen. I hesitated, then answered and put it on speaker because my hands were covered in dish soap. "Hi, Mum," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. There was a pause, then a shaky inhale. "What are you all doing?" she asked. The background noise answered for me. Kids yelling, someone Dan singing off-key. "We're just having lunch," I said. "Everyone's here." Silence. Then, in a small voice, "All of you?" "Yeah," I said. "The kids too." She sniffed. "Your father and I are sitting here at this big table, just the two of us," she said. I could picture it. The perfect roast, the good china, the napkin rings she loves, all laid out in a scene that looked like an advertisement for something hollow. "I made all this food," her voice broke, "and all the grandkids are at your place." Guilt punched me in the stomach. I looked around at the chaos. Noah feeding his cousin a roast potato with his fingers, Lily laughing so hard she was wheezing, my niece climbing under the table. This was what I'd chosen. "You told us not to bring the kids, Mum," I said gently. "We chose to spend Christmas with them." "I never said you couldn't bring them," she snapped, tears thickening her words. "You twisted it. You wanted an excuse not to come." My siblings all went quiet, ears obviously tuned to my side of the conversation. Dan's jaw clenched. I took a breath. "Your exact words were no kids at Christmas this year. Adults only," I said. "We're not twisting anything." "I meant at my house," she said. "I didn't mean this." "This is the logical outcome of that," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "We're parents now. Christmas without our kids isn't Christmas for us." She started crying properly then. "So we lose," she said. "We're punished because you had children." "You're not being punished," I said. "You were invited to this. You still are. You can come right now. There's plenty of food. It's not too late." There was a rustle like she was covering the receiver. I could faintly hear my dad in the background saying something like, "What did you expect?" But I couldn't make out the words. When she came back on, her voice was flat. "No," she said. We're not coming. Enjoy your day." "Mom," I started, but the line went dead. I stood there with my soapy hands dripping into the sink, phone screen gone dark, and for a second I felt like a terrible child and a terrible parent and a terrible host all at once. My chest felt tight, eyes burning. Dan came over and tapped the end call button with his elbow, then grabbed a tea towel. "She really has some nerve," he said quietly. "Lily," from the table, "if she says we abandoned her, I'm going to scream." The kids, blissfully unaware, started chanting something about pudding. Mark leaned in close and murmured, "You invited her. She said no. That's her choice. Look around." I did, at the sticky, laughing, chaotic scene in my living room. At my daughter's face lit up with the pure joy of shaking a box to guess what was inside. At my niece curled up next to the dog, feeding him a bit of ham. At my brother arguing with his wife about whether cranberry sauce belongs on everything. My eyes still stung, but the feeling in my chest shifted. It wasn't joy exactly. It wasn't guilt either. It was something in between, kind of like grief for the Christmas I'd always wanted my parents to create, mixed with relief that, for my kids, this was it. This mess, this noise, these people choosing them. Later that evening, when the dishes were piled high and the kids were finally asleep in a nest of new stuffed animals and candy wrappers, I sat on the couch with a glass of cheap wine and scrolled through my messages. Mom had sent one more text. "I hope you're happy. Your father hardly ate. That's all I'll say." I typed out 3 different drafts. One apologizing, one snapping back, one trying to explain again. I deleted them all. In the end, I just put the phone face down on the coffee table and leaned my head on Mark's shoulder. "You're not going to answer?" he asked softly. "Not right now," I said. "If I answer now, I'm going to try to fix her feelings." I can't do that and raise these kids the way I want at the same time. He nodded. One crisis at a time, he said. So yeah. Mom texted, no kids at Christmas this year, and then sobbed when every grandchild spent the day at my place. She sees it as us turning on her, as me stealing her role. I see it as the first Christmas where I chose my children's sense of belonging over her image of what a proper holiday should look like. I don't know what next year will bring. Maybe she'll soften. Maybe she'll double down. Maybe we'll end up doing parallel Christmases forever. But my kids, when they're grown and sitting in someone's living room complaining about their parents like I'm doing now, won't have to say, yeah, my grandparents banned us from Christmas and everyone went along with it. If they complain about me, I want it to be about the burnt potatoes or the tacky decorations or the time I forgot the batteries. Not about being told they were too much to be around on the one day of the year that's supposed to be about them. For the first time, Christmas felt like something I was building, not something I was trying not to mess up. And if that means my mother has to sit with the consequences of the words she typed so casually in November, then maybe that's the only way anything ever changes in this family.